Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new series that we are calling Her Story as a part of the NCAA celebration of the 50th anniversary of the passing of Title IX. My name is Aubrey Cousins. I'm a former collegiate athlete and current athletic leadership development intern, and I will be your host as we interview some of the most prominent women in the history of the California Collegiate Athletic Association. Our first guest is Kim Duyst. Kim served as the head men's and women's cross country and track and field coach for 21 years at Stanislaus State and was the Warriors' interim athletic director. She is a member of the U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association Hall of Fame, and she will be joining us for our first CCAA HERstory interview. So we welcome Kim Duyst, and this is her Title IX story.
Okay, well, thank you, Aubrey. I appreciate you inviting me, and gosh, I feel honored. I'm the first one, but a little bit about my background. I was in high school when Title IX was started in 1972. I was a freshman. So while I was in high school, I did a lot of sports. We didn't have cross country at the time. I played field hockey in the fall, played basketball. I did gymnastics on the side. It was a club. We didn't have a team. I was a cheerleader. I played softball in the summer. So I was able to participate in a lot of sports. And by my senior year, they had a full slate of events for track and field. We still didn't have cross country. I grew up in New York, in upstate New York. So I'm a Title IX baby. I've seen I've been able to benefit and see how it's really helped women, even though we have a long ways to go. But I went on to college on an athletic scholarship in 1977. I was one of the first classes at the University of Wyoming to get scholarship for women's cross country and track and field. Title IX opened that door for me, and I competed there. And from there, my coach, who was a female, after my senior year, she took another position at another university and recommended that I be a grad assistant for the new coach coming in at the University of Wyoming for cross country and track. And so I was kind of excited. I hadn't really planned on getting into coaching, but that door opened for me to, number one, get my master's degree, and number two, to see if I like coaching. Well, it's obvious that I did. And the new coach, who was a male, he really, really helped me develop. And I got my master's degree in a year and a half, and he only stayed a year and then went to Florida State. And then he wanted me to go there even if it was just for a semester. So I followed him to Florida State after I got my degree. And after that, I went to Illinois State as just a part-time job, but just for something new. And there was the head coach was a female. And so I moved from Florida to Illinois State and got great experience there. I was working like 3 or 4 jobs. It wasn't full-time. They didn't have a full-time position. So I was really looking after that point to coach full-time, and position opened up at Syracuse. And what's really unique about Syracuse is I had applied for a head women's job at Bucknell University. One of the 2 finalists really thought I had the job. Unfortunately, I didn't get it, but I didn't even know about the Syracuse job. But that men's head coach told the head coach at Syracuse that, hey, I have a great candidate here for you. So Syracuse actually reached out to me, and it allowed me to coach both men and women. It was an assistant coaching job, but it did allow me to expand, get out of my comfort zone and coach men as well as women, which was not real common. That was back in the early 80s. So from there, I loved Syracuse, had a great opportunity. And then after 2 years, head women's job opened up at West Virginia University. And so I was encouraged by coaches in the East from Yale, and you need to apply for this, Kim. And so I did. I love what I was doing, but I thought, yeah, my next step is going to be a head women's coach. So I applied, and I fortunately got that job, and really enjoyed it. And I did find that I really miss coaching both genders. I really miss coaching the men as well as the women. So for me, my next goal was to be a head coach for men and women. And of course, not a lot of those opened up or opportunities, especially for women at the time. But the job opened up at Stanislaus State out here in California. And I kind of applied thinking, this is a real long shot, but I'm just going to give it a shot. And I had called the Fresno State coach, Red Estes, who had served on the NCAA track committee, and we had hosted that championships in Syracuse. So I knew him, and I said, hey, what's this place? Never heard of it. Where is it? What do you think? And, he goes, Kim, you have an opportunity to build a program. It's kind of been down the last few years. So, he gave me the scoop about fog in the valley and stuff. But I knew that, great athletes in California at that time, tuition was really inexpensive. So I applied. I got the interview. I thought I must be the token female. I'm coming from the East Coast, and I was fortunate enough to get hired. And so, it was challenging going from Division I to Division III at the time, but there was the only place I could go was up. So I I had a lot of challenges at first, and but it was very rewarding. And I ended up staying at Stanislaus State for a total of 33 years, 21 of those coaching. And the other goal I had after coaching is I knew I really wanted to stay in collegiate athletics and be in administration. So I was fortunate that I had that opportunity, even while I was coaching, to do a little bit, in administration, and then get more and more, and then eventually go full time. So I was real fortunate, and I can say I loved working at Stanislaus. I had a great career there, and yeah, and it's just getting better and better there. So that's kind of my story in it really quickly in a nutshell.
Oh, you really followed every single path and network that you had, and each goal that you put in front of yourself, you accomplished. And that's amazing and inspiring.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And, there were a lot of challenges along the way. And I have to say, it's just exciting for me now, knowing all of the professional development opportunities for women now that I never had. So I think, and we're getting more and more right now, Women's Leaders is going on. That's a great program. And even at like the NCAA level, there's just so many professional development opportunities and scholarships. It's great to see you as an intern. You're the first one. I mean, applaud to the CCAA for that. I mean, I was real excited when I saw that. So I like I said, there, you got to have your goals. A lot of times there's challenges, but in everything that you do, there are. So yeah.
Well, thank you. So this being Title IX's 50th year anniversary, what comes to your mind when you hear Title IX?
When I hear Title IX, I just feel thankful, to be honest. I feel that for women, it's just really opened so many doors. I think there's more to be done for sure. In 50 years, gosh, it doesn't seem like it's been 50 years. It seems like we should be further than we are for 50 years. But I think of that Title IX allowed me to have a career that I was very passionate about, that I love going to work every morning, and I just love being in college athletics. And had it not been for Title IX, then I wouldn't have been able to achieve my dream job, my passion. But like I said, I wish we were further ahead, in Title IX than we are. We're slowly getting better. But I'm really hoping that, things can move along a little bit faster, as we move forward.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier having Title IX kind of be like your inaugural, kind of starting up at the beginning of your career. Being the path maker and the leader you were there any women at the time that you were able to look up to, or were you yourself the driving factor for motivation, I guess?
That's a great question. In high school, I had a couple coaches. Well, like, she coached field hockey and basketball. She she was a great mentor for me and would always push me. It was really fun because a couple of my friends and I, during our lunch hour, we'd go hang out in their office, the coach's office. And they were the women coaches. So we liked what we, saw. They were great role models for us, and even after high school, I coached softball in the summer. I coached rec league, young kids and up, and I actually had her daughters, and she was always helping me, and she wanted me to officiate field hockey. So she was always there for me, encouraging me and really giving me the confidence, and like, Kim, you can do this. You're going to be a great coach, and stuff. So I'll have to say that I did at a high school level. And then when I got into college, my college coach was a female, and had it not been for her, giving me that opportunity when she left, and actually recommending me and having confidence in me, I probably wouldn't be where I am today, or have any coaching or traveled the world with USA Track and Field. So she was very inspirational for me. And as far as for administration, I remember going back visiting Syracuse, and Doris Soliday, who was the at that time they were NCAA, so she wasn't, they weren't AIEW, so she wasn't the AD, but she was like the next in charge. But I would always go back and talk to her, and I asked her, like, what, if I want to get into administration, what advice can you give me? And she said, Kim, while you're coaching, just volunteer to do one little thing. Don't ask to get paid, just volunteer, and see if you like it. And then, you do a good job, and, things will fall into place. So I did. I went back and asked. Joe Donahue was my athletic director. And I said, hey, Joe, I'd love to be the SWA. That was when the SWAs were just starting, and our secretary was that. And he goes, sure, yeah, okay. So so that's kind of how I started. And then I got more and more responsibility. So she was a great mentor for me, gave me great advice. So I did have some. As far as once I got into coaching, there were very few women coaching. And I had great men mentors. The coach that I followed to Florida State said, Kim, you're going to be a great coach. You have all the tools. And so I did have some male mentors that really helped me along.
It's amazing. You're mentioning all of these people that are helping support you and through all of these things. Was there ever a time where you were kind of stuck, or these people were holding back? And were there any times where you really had to persevere, like moments throughout your career where you really had to notice or take a step back and persevere through not just like the gender barrier or other things? Do you recall any of those moments?
There was one time when my women's team was practicing. We were practicing for the indoor regional championships. It was back east, and we're in the indoor facility, and we got kicked out for football's first day of spring practice because my women were a distraction to the football players. And it was very frustrating. I met with the associate AD, and, it's like, well, Kim, football, we need to make sure that they're paying attention, so stuff like that. And even as far as I had to do a lot of take it into my own initiative for pay raises, and, not teaching as many classes as others, and working overloads and stuff. So So yeah, there were a lot of things where it's like, gosh, what's going on here? And even I got moved from a window office back down to a non-window office to make the new basketball coach so that he had a better office. So, those are, challenges that I had, and I had to just keep moving forward, try to stay positive, and keep thinking ahead. Okay, well, what am I going to do? And just and I even had when I went to Stanislaus and coached men and women, and very small conservative town, and like I had people at the university tell me, you can't coach men. Yeah, they're not going to listen. You're not going to be able to coach men, and you should give that up. I mean, I literally had people telling me that, men. Yeah. So I just had to, bite my tongue and say, oh yeah, I can. Yeah, and so it was there were quite a few challenges. So
Well, you stuck it right to them. You coached there for longer than they even thought.
yeah,
That's
well,
amazing.
yeah, it's funny to look back at it now, but it was, I was young, and I was like, no one's going to tell me no. Don't tell me I can't do this. So
Yeah. You told them that from day one all the way up till you were
yeah,
done. So I
yes,
commend you on that.
thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thinking a little bit more, using Title IX and not just within CCAA or NCAA, kind of worldwide women's athletics. Can you think of barriers that are driving the visibility of women's sports? So the lacking of being visible within TV or just smaller things like that. Can you see any barriers in that?
Yeah, I see the culture barriers, the whole status quo, like, the women's role in society, and even like you said, the media, and like depending what time to watch, what time they put women's events on compared to men's games. Yes, I believe that. I even, the whole, like with the pay, like women's soccer, and the most recent sexual harassment, charges. I mean, I think just like that women, and oh well, you're stay home and raise a family. I mean, I think there's still that mentality of that, and just the barriers of women that want to have a family, and the opportunities for them to have good childcare, and to be able to do that. So it's kind of that whole cultural barrier, that where the women's play, where's your place, as a woman, and that also, well, there aren't many women leaders, so you guys can't be leaders. Well, we're working on that. We need to get more leaders, but we need more men to help those women leaders, and to hire more women, especially in athletics, to not just hire male coaches, to have women coaches and women role models, and hire women athletic directors, women CEOs, women's managers of the pro sports. And it is encouraging to see, like, the NFL officials, some of the women in coaching, the women owning, some baseball. So there are those, but yeah, there's still those good old boy, barriers that some people still hold. And especially with social media now, I mean, we should be able to equally give that, to women, and so, and I
There's
think
so
a lot of
many
it's the TV. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many different platforms nowadays that kind of help highlight that. There's a new one on social media called The Gist, and it's all about women, run by women, gives you all news about women in athletics. And I think it's just another thing adding that if you put women in power, you're going to be able to see the amazing things that they can do. And I think you highlighted on it by hiring on these people. I don't know if you know, but in the CCAA within the last couple of years, last year most definitely, there was a higher proportion or a higher percentage of women athletic directors to male athletic directors, and that's very uncommon within the NCAA. So I think it's a true tribute to these women. If you get hired on, see the amazing things that we can do.
Yes, no, I totally agree. What is the name of that legit?
It's called The Gist.
The JITS.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
I'll
gist.
check that out.
GIST. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's
Okay.
so many different things going out around right now, but it's one of my highlighted favorites at the moment.
Okay. Perfect.
Moving a
Thank you for
little
that.
forward, of course. Where do you see, or actually, what does being a woman in sports mean to you?
Um, Gosh, it means that I'm able to fulfill my passion. That it makes me feel confident. I've always loved sports and I've always been involved, and I love that I can still be involved with what I've been doing after retirement. And I just think, um, yeah, I love it. I love sport, so I don't know if that
Uh,
answers the question.
yeah, it totally does.
Yeah.
At the slow moving pace that we're going right now, I mean, 50 years for Title IX is where we're at right now. Where do you imagine women in sports or Title IX even within the next 10 years?
I would love to see more CEOs, more athletic directors, more professional teams getting prime time on TV. I would love to see that. I know that participation at both the high school level and the college level has really increased. I'd like to see that keep increasing, and I think it will. And I think we're going to have more women coaches. When I look at cross country and track, especially at the Division I level, over the last year or so, they have hired quite a few women to be directors of cross country and track and field, which is very encouraging to me. So I'm hoping and I'm thinking that trend will continue, and even with other sports. I think we're getting there, and I think with, as you said, we have more athletic directors just in our conference that are women. Across the nation, there are more women, and all the like I said, there's women leaders in sports. It's for coaches, it's for everybody. That gets bigger and bigger every year. So I see us improving. I mean, and getting better. Hopefully at a quicker rate than we have in the past, but I'm excited for it. I don't think we're going to go backwards, so I think we're only going to go forward. And yeah, it's exciting for our young women and our young girls to have all the opportunities that they have now. And with the NILs now, with the NCAA, that'll open the doors. I mean, you're thinking, oh, it's going to be all male, but I think women can really market themselves. So I think that is really going to help. I would hope. I think that's going to help. So.
Amazing. I know both of our lives are surrounded around sports and we love everything that encompasses it. Are there any female athletes right now that are on your radar or that you are loving to watch?
Oh gosh, I love to watch all of them. Um, you mean at the professional level or just any level?
Anything,
Oh,
professional, high
yeah.
school,
I
college?
just love I love watching cross country, track and field, horse. Those were my main sports. I am real excited to watch Kayla Deschamps from Stanislaus. She's just an amazing runner. So I just like to watch it all, but yeah, I get excited like when the Olympics are on to see all those all the athletes, and so yeah. No one really that I can, target, particular. I just like everybody.
Yes, everything and anything.
Everything, as long as it's sports and they're competing, I love to watch it.
Yes. And then my last question for you, do you have any advice for the next generation of female athletes?
Yeah, follow your passion, never give up. And just, dream big, dream big. Don't let people tell you no. I think that's real important, and really just try to find an early age mentors or role models that you look up to, that you can go to, and find out as much information about your sport as you can, for whether you're competing, for when you compete, and if you think you want to have a career in athletics, just think it's so important, your self-confidence, and just love what you do. Love what you do. And that's what the advice I give my children, I give the athletes when I was coaching and an administrator. Find something that you love waking up in the morning and going to, and you're gonna have good days and bad days, but I just look back and I would not change a thing. I love my career. I mean, how fun is it to be able to go to events when I'm an administrator, or go watch my athletes while I'm coaching, it just, to make a difference for these young adults. It just does my heart good. And I just love that. So just follow your passion.
Thank you everyone for joining us on this episode of the CCAA Her Story interview. Be sure to check back Thursday as the CCAA celebrates the 50th anniversary of Title IX.